hole in the ground. And
Welcome to THP Discover.
Sometimes they're just stuck in the caliche in the mud. They make little shrines in the tunnels. They vary.
And it had a rail system running through it as well.
This is one of the most sophisticated tunnels ever discovered in the United States.
Just because the material used to build it.
Nearly all of them are dug by hand, by day laborers.
This is one of the most sophisticated
Into it. But when diggers survive, they often thank the tunnel god.
The materials used to construct it and the challenging terrain it had to pass through make it truly remarkable.
This is one of those robots view inside a drainage pipe used to smuggle drugs.
This tunnel in particular had a wood pallet floor the whole way of the tunnel.
Used to smuggle drugs.
A wood pallet floor.
A former drug smuggling tunnel between the U.S. and Mexico. But because of the tools and debris so often left in these tunnels, one of the ways that tens of billions of dollars of drugs often snag and get stuck.
What sets this tunnel apart is its advanced design. It featured a full wooden pallet floor, providing stability throughout its length.
Feels syrupy.
The cartel, the audacity that they have.
Ventilation and wooden beams.
Detecting them is nearly impossible.
Even more surprising, a rail system was installed inside, allowing for the efficient transportation of people or goods.
A trap door operated hydraulically from 1,000 feet away in Mexico. It's perfectly camouflaged with the garage floor, so they have to pump it in.
The journey through the seemingly endless tunnel is a long and daunting one for special agents, not knowing what or who they might encounter, as CBP says it was a route used by transnational criminal organizations. But not anymore.
And the cockroaches are pretty pink.
Well, the cockroaches too.
But it only has to be.
And it has apparently been operational for over a year.
Sniffing out the tunnels,
which included Venezuelan women who were victims of sex trafficking.
No one knows how many tunnel diggers have died down here. Once inside, the air is in short supply.
The tunnel, the length of 6.
But underground, there's a threat that remains in the dark.
Passes for entertainment.
Tunnel porn?
Finally, we reach the end of the tunnel.
Statistics exclusively obtained from DHS sources, self-surrendering, but rather they become gotaways.
Comfortable enough to do one thing.
Authorities are calling it one of the most complex smuggling tunnels ever found, proving just how far smugglers are willing to go to bypass border security.
And are nearly an hour inside the tunnel.
Football fields and 6 stories below ground has rail. Law enforcement seized more than 1,700 pounds of cocaine, as the U.S. attorney said.
To help investigate.
allowing traffickers to simply dig new entry points.
Tunnels have been a major concern for the U.S. for some time. Skate, identify, and shut down these tunnels.
Beneath the U.S.-Mexico border, an underground war is being fought.
Tunnel Task Force.
Cartels have constructed an elaborate network of secret tunnels designed to transport massive amounts of drugs and even high-profile criminals like El Chapo.
Price tag that with just 2 shipments of drugs.
Agent Lance Lenore is one of the border tunnel rats. He's been inside more than... Concrete is what's typically used for remediation. Agents seal the portion of the...
Effort goes in to working with this type of problem.
Not an under-the-river one like this one.
And after tunnels are discovered.
The cartels commissioned the work in Matamoros that started right through this opening.
We go in, we map it out with precision to the point.
But nothing would hold the river back, including the pump that had been installed in the tunnel.
There's some fear it could cave in.
You can see the plywood ceiling on here is all...
They would tunnel along the old tunnel, but...
Deep underground.
Walk right here.
You just walk gently through here.
Intelligence is the driving factor.
We see artifacts and what?
Those are cases that we investigate as well. We'll address that on a case by case.
200 cross-border tunnels used to smuggle, having tunnels built that would lead him out to freedom from the Mexican prisons he was being held in.
Dirt goes out and drugs.
And the cartels from their #1 market.
Drugs go in.
Time.
If you do a 4,000-pound load of marijuana and you...
On the side of the criminal organizations, those were not the only...
Right through there?
You could drive by it a million times and not...
Illicit drugs, humans, weapons, and money.
Odds.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, a lot of the tunnel...
The water started leaking in.
To the border to examine the realities of a wall.
Because it's caved in behind you and there's no way back out.
Exclusively to the location where last August the Mexican military found the tunnel below the Rio Grande River.
We're in hot pursuit of El Chapo, and we'd have to fend for ourselves.
Lots of sunshine right down to the beaches.
We've taken a trip past San Diego.
Notorious not only for his narrow escapes and prison breaks, but for the elaborate cross-border tunnels his cartel has engineered.
It went down into a manhole, and with generators and a ventilation system was probably 8 feet from the start of the tunnel to the bottom, so 8 feet high. However,
those engineers also use the massive and fetid drainage system between the 2 sides of the border.
So right here is the tunneling attempt.
You won't believe the shocking underground strategy.
While the construction of this tunnel under the Rio Grande is unusual,
smuggle drugs fast. He said he doesn't know. It was abandoned when they got there.
These tunnels, some stretching thousands of feet, represent one of the most sophisticated smuggling methods ever used.
And they can be highly sophisticated, like this one discovered last April.
To help investigate, identify, and shut down these tunnels.
Law enforcement seized more than 1,700 pounds of cocaine. As the U.S. attorney said, there's no more light at the end of this narco tunnel.
Only tunnels found. Since 1990, Customs and Border Protection has discovered nearly 2.
Several news outlets in Mexico have reported that the underground route was promoted by other migrants on TikTok as a safe and quick pathway to get into the U.S. The smuggling tunnel is 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide and was equipped with lights.
The agency
U.S. and Mexican authorities have found and destroyed over 180 smuggling tunnels, with most concentrated in border cities like Nobles and Tijuana.
To add thousands of new agents.
What they know is that when they find a tunnel, they know they have an exit point, and there's only one way to find out its entry. So basically,
so does the uncertainty over how Mexico will deal with its side of the problem.
Pounds each one of those things. They have to haul them all the way back through this.
Correct. They drag them all the way back.
But as enforcement here grows, offering cash for good leave.
These tunnels are built with extreme precision, running directly beneath the noses of Border Patrol agents.
The job of finding Customs and Border Protection tunnel team.
You guys
tasked with the sometimes.
So there are 3 tunnels within a space of a year. here in 15 feet.
Correct.
And they can be
Some are
highly
simple
sophisticated,
passageways,
like
but
the
others are
tunnels
engineering
found.
marvels,
Since
featuring wooden
1990,
floors,
Customs
concrete
and Border
walls,
Protection
lighting
has
systems,
discovered
and even
nearly
underground
2
rail
Ran
tracks
the
to
length
move
of
drugs
9
quickly.
football fields. This tunnel, discovered the year before, outfitted with ventilation.
100 cross-border tunnels used to smuggle illicit drugs, humans, weapons, and money.
2,000-mile-long border with Mexico.
Despite law
Crazy
enforcement
is that
efforts, cartel
180-some
tunnels remain a
tunnels found
growing
so far
problem.
along the
And an
Authorities
elevator
admit
could
that for
hold up
every
to
tunnel
10
they
people.
find, there
There's
are
a tunnel
likely
right
several
here,
more
and then there's a
still
tunnel
undiscovered.
20 feet behind. I mean,
The dreamers from the American dream.
Our convoy rolls up to a gated house.
On the side of the criminal organizations and the cartels from their #1 market, the United States. Prisons he was being held in. Those were not the only. The DEA office in the Rio Grande Valley took our cameras.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video.
The cartels commissioned the work in Matamoros that started right through this opening.
Earlier this year, by having his comrades brazenly into his prison cell. A tunnel even fitted out with a motorcycle on a rail. Busted out of the
The battle against cartel tunnels is far from over.
Years ago,
As authorities race to close them down, smugglers are already digging new ones, keeping this underground war alive.
Identify and shut down these tunnels. Just a few miles south where the Rio Grande meets the Gulf of Mexico, it is wide open and not as easy to hide goods being moved. But here, CBP has cameras and they dedicate more manpower.